There's a profound mystery at the heart of how human connections form and fade. Some people seem to possess an almost supernatural ability to read emotions, tuning in to every subtle shift in body language and energy. They don't merely hear your voice, they sense the pauses, detect the hidden tension beneath the surface, and even perceive the words you're hesitant to say. It's like their internal radar is permanently on high alert, capturing every passing signal. Yet, paradoxically, these same individuals often remain oblivious when you go out of your way to grab their attention. You send messages that languish without replies, and your gestures of care appear to evaporate into thin air. Their cool disregard leaves you wondering, what did I do to deserve this? Here's a hard truth that stings. People rarely value what's always within reach. When you're perpetually accessible, texting first, calling frequently, or showing up uninvited, you unintentionally diminish your own worth in their eyes. Familiarity kills appreciation. Like a constant hum in the background, your presence fades into the din of their everyday life. It's not that they don't care, but they've become numb to you being there. But everything changes the moment you stop chasing. This isn't about playing mind games or engaging in petty revenge. It's about creating enough space for someone to feel your absence. When you pull away, you force them to experience life without you. And that's when reality hits them like a storm. The deep conversations, the warmth of your presence, the silent understanding you always offered, all of it suddenly becomes painfully noticeable when it's gone. Think of it like this. Imagine a stunning painting hanging on the same wall every day. Over time, people stop noticing it. But the moment it's taken down, the empty space it leaves behind makes them realize just how much it mattered. The same happens in relationships. Your presence should never be a background noise. It should be a melody they crave. And here's the kicker. When you reclaim your energy and focus on yourself, they feel the shift. It unsettles them. They start wondering why you're no longer as available, why your attention has moved elsewhere. And suddenly, they begin to see what they overlooked for so long. This is power, the power of absence, the power of self-respect. When you set boundaries, when you value yourself enough to step back, you create a shift in the dynamic. They begin to realize that your attention is not an unlimited resource. They now have to earn what they once took for granted. And this is where the magic happens, because when they feel that void, when they finally recognize that losing you isn't just about your presence, but about the energy, wisdom, and strength you brought into their life, it hits different, hard. Now, here's your power move. Comment below. I naturally attract respect, love, and appreciation. Affirm it, write it down, own it, because the moment you believe it, others will start to believe it too. If this message hit you hard, show some love. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon so you never miss another powerful lesson that will elevate your mindset. And stay till the very end, because I'm about to share one powerful Stoic mindset shift that will not only make them miss you, but make them see you in a way they never have before. Are you ready to step into your power? Then let's dive in. 1. Like a missing puzzle piece, they won't realize until it's gone. Life flows in patterns, routines, and familiar rhythms. These daily habits give us a sense of structure, making an unpredictable world feel a little more stable. But routines aren't just about what we do. They're about who we do them with. People become woven into the fabric of our everyday lives, often without us even realizing it. And when someone who was once a part of those rhythms is suddenly gone, everything feels off. It's like a song that skips a beat, a clock that hesitates for just a moment. The absence isn't just noticed, it's felt. Imagine them reaching for their phone in the morning, expecting the usual good morning text from you. Something small, yet comforting, a ritual that quietly started their day. But today, the screen stays dark. No message, no notification. A tiny disruption, but enough to leave a void. Or picture them coming home after a long, exhausting day, instinctively anticipating the warmth of your voice, the shared laughter over dinner, or the little jokes that made the mundane feel lighter. But instead, there's just silence, a quiet house, an empty room. Suddenly, what was once routine now feels incomplete. It's in these moments, the pauses, the missing pieces, the echoes of what used to be, that your absence becomes undeniable. Sometimes you will never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. Dr. Seuss. Your absence doesn't just go unnoticed, it disrupts the flow of their life. It's like pulling a thread from a finely woven tapestry. Things start to loosen, unravel. The shared Thursday night tradition of watching a favorite show. It feels different now. The coffee in the morning. It doesn't taste quite the same without your voice in the background, filling the space with warmth. And that's the truth. When someone becomes an unspoken part of your routine, their presence seeps into the smallest details of your day. And when they're gone, those same details suddenly stand out. Empty. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you let someone into your life, their presence colors your world in ways you don't fully grasp, until their shade is missing. And it's not just their physical absence, it's the absence of meaning. A good night message that once carried weight, a simple inside joke that made everything feel lighter, a shared memory that now lingers with no one to revisit it. These things don't just disappear, they echo. This is where they begin to feel it, deeply. The difference between what was and what is. And that realization, it's unsettling. But is this about deliberately removing yourself to make someone miss you? Is it about playing games? Absolutely not. This isn't about manipulation. It's about meaning. You don't want them to miss you because you're absent. You want them to miss you because your presence mattered. Think of a bright star in the night sky. It doesn't demand attention. It simply shines. It doesn't beg to be noticed, yet its light makes the darkness feel less overwhelming. That's the power of being genuinely present. When you bring your best self to every interaction, when you offer warmth, laughter, and deep connection, you create an imprint that lingers long after you're gone. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Epictetus. That's what makes someone unforgettable. Not silence, not distance, but the undeniable feeling that life was simply better when you were around. They don't realize it at first, but one night, as they sit alone watching that same Thursday night show, they'll catch themselves thinking, "It was better when we watched this together." One morning, as they sip their coffee, they'll hear your laughter in the back of their mind and feel the weight of its absence. That's the magic of true presence. When it's real, when it's meaningful, it's irreplaceable. 2. The ghost of a presence. Too powerful to forget. Loneliness doesn't always arrive with an empty room or a quiet night. Sometimes it sneaks in through the noise, through laughter that doesn't feel as warm, conversations that feel hollow, and days that feel oddly incomplete. It's not the lack of company that creates the ache. It's the absence of someone who truly understood. And for them, that absence isn't just noticed, it's felt. There are moments when their mind drifts back, uninvited, to times when they felt seen, heard, and valued. Moments that, at the time, might have seemed ordinary. But now, They carry a weight they never expected. Imagine them sitting in their room, scrolling through their phone, but stopping on a message thread that hasn't been touched in a while. Maybe it's a late-night conversation that once felt so natural, or a voice note they never deleted. The words don't just sit on the screen, they echo in their mind, carrying a presence that lingers. It's not just nostalgia, it's longing. Longing for something real, something genuine. Because true presence doesn't just fill space, it leaves an imprint. And when it's gone, the emptiness it leaves behind speaks louder than any words ever could. In Stoic philosophy, loneliness isn't an enemy. It's a teacher. It forces reflection. It exposes the depth of the connections we take for granted. And for them, that lesson arrives in the quiet moments, in the pauses of their day when nothing quite feels right. It strikes in the stillness of the night, when distractions fade, and all that's left is what's missing. Your absence isn't just noticed because you're gone. It's noticed because of what you brought. If you ever truly listened to them, if you gave them your attention without judgment, if you made them feel safe in their most vulnerable moments, those experiences don't just disappear. They remain, like footprints in their memory, impossible to erase. They'll think back to the times you sat under the stars, trading dreams and secrets that felt like they were meant to last forever. To the nights you helped them carry the weight of their fears without ever making them feel weak. To the moments when you saw something in them that no one else ever took the time to notice. And it's in those reflections that reality sets in. Because when something real is lost, the mind doesn't just let it go. It clings, it craves, it idealizes. Think of it like rain after a long drought. The earth doesn't just absorb it, it remembers it. It longs for it when it's gone. Your presence, when meaningful, is that rain. It nourishes, fills, and leaves a mark that lingers long after the storm has passed. And when it's no longer there, the dryness is unbearable. That's the power of authenticity. When your presence was real, it doesn't fade into the background. It becomes the benchmark, the quiet comparison they make, whether they realize it or not. No matter how much time passes, certain memories refuse to be drowned out by the noise of daily life. They echo. Marcus Aurelius once said, "What we do now echoes in eternity." And that's exactly what happens. The depth of your presence, the laughter you shared, the comfort you provided, it doesn't vanish. It lingers in their solitude, reminding them of what once was, of the irreplaceable way you made them feel. Because true connection isn't measured in how often you're there. It's measured in the depth of your impact. It's not about how much time you spend together. It's about how deeply you leave your mark while you are there. And when you're gone, it's not just your absence they feel. It's the absence of the way you made them feel. You weren't just another person passing through their life. You were the moment that made the rest of it brighter. And now, without you, something feels dim. The void left behind. It isn't just emptiness. It's a presence that refuses to be forgotten. A shadow of something too real to fade. A ghost of a connection too powerful to ignore. 3. The light that once warmed them now casts a shadow. Life moves fast. In the blur of daily routines and endless distractions, people rarely stop to notice the quiet ways someone makes them feel seen, valued, and understood. It's only when that presence fades, when the warmth disappears, that they finally recognize just how much it mattered. And for them, that realization doesn't hit all at once. It creeps in unexpectedly. It happens in moments of celebration, when they achieve something meaningful, maybe a promotion, a personal breakthrough, a small but hard-earned victory. They should be excited. They should be proud, but something feels off. The moment feels strangely hollow. The one person who would have noticed the flicker of joy in their eyes, who would have shared in their excitement without being asked, isn't there. The applause of the world means little when the person who truly saw them is missing, or it happens on the other end of the spectrum, on the days that feel too heavy to carry alone. The exhaustion sits in their bones, but there's no one to sense it the way you once did. No knowing glance, no quiet reassurance, no comforting presence that instinctively understood what words couldn't express. They never had to ask before, you just knew. But now they sit with the weight of it alone. This is how absence speaks, not with grand gestures, but with the small, unnoticed details that suddenly feel glaring in their emptiness. In a world that moves at lightning speed, where people are distracted, half listening, half present, true attentiveness is rare. Most operate on autopilot, barely scratching the surface of genuine connection. And yet, you were different. You tuned in. You paid attention, not just to their words, but to their energy, their unspoken thoughts, the little shifts in their mood that most people overlooked. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one." That's exactly what you did. Your presence wasn't just noticed, it was felt. And now that it's gone, its significance is amplified. They start remembering things they once brushed aside, the way you always caught the subtle changes in their voice, the way you instinctively celebrated even their smallest achievements, the way you recognized when they were struggling, even when they didn't have the words to explain it. These memories aren't just fragments of the past, they're reminders of a connection that stood apart from the rest. And the irony. It often takes absence for people to fully grasp the depth of what they had. When something is always there, it blends into the background. But when it's gone, it becomes impossible to ignore. Seneca once wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Your absence isn't just a void, it's a teacher. It forces them to reflect, to recognize what they once took for granted. It's not about manipulation, it's not about games. It's about the unavoidable truth that when something real leaves, it doesn't just disappear, it leaves an imprint. Imagine them sitting in a room after a long, draining day. They stare into the quiet, longing, not just for noise, not just for company, but for you. For the way you used to notice what others didn't. For the way you made even their most invisible moments feel seen. This longing isn't about dependence. It's not about needing you to survive. It's about the universal human desire to be truly understood. And once someone has felt that level of connection, anything less will always feel lacking. You were like a warm light in their life, illuminating the dark corners, making everything feel just a little more vibrant. And now that light has faded. What remains isn't just an empty space, it's a shadow, a lingering presence in their mind, a quiet ache that no one else quite fills. The Stoics taught that we can't control how others feel, nor can we dictate their choices. But we can control how we show up. And the way you showed up, with authenticity, with depth, with true care, means that even in your absence you haven't really left. Because real connection isn't loud. It doesn't demand attention. It's like the soft hum of a melody that lingers long after the song has ended. And when they feel unnoticed in the world, when they start to wonder if anyone will ever see them in that same way again, it's the memory of you that echoes the loudest. The reminder that they once had something rare, something real, and once they realize that, the longing only grows. 4. The standard. They can't escape. Human nature is wired for comparison. It's how people make sense of their experiences, especially in relationships. They don't always realize they're doing it, but every new person they meet is unconsciously measured against the ones who came before. And whether they admit it or not, after you've been part of their life, you become the standard, the silent benchmark against which all others are judged. It's not about arrogance. It's not about proving a point. It's about impact. Imagine them sitting across from someone new. The conversation flows. There are polite smiles, maybe even a shared laugh. On paper, this person seems great, charming, ambitious, engaging. But beneath the surface, something feels off. There's a pause, a fleeting thought they can't shake. They don't make me feel the way you did. It's not that the new person is lacking. It's that you set a precedent, one they now realize was rare. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." And that's exactly what's happening to them. These comparisons aren't about logic. They're about feeling. They don't miss you because they're stuck in the past. They miss you because of the way you made them feel, seen, understood, valued. Your sense of humor, the way you could read their emotions without a single word, the small quirks they once brushed off. Suddenly, those things stand out as irreplaceable. Picture them reminiscing about moments they didn't fully appreciate at the time. The way you noticed their mood shifts before they even spoke. The effortless way you made them laugh, even on their worst days. The quiet comfort of your presence when words weren't needed at all. These weren't just interactions. They were anchors, the foundation of a connection that now feels impossible to replicate. And this is where realization sets in. The standard you set wasn't something you tried to create. It was simply who you were. Your authenticity, your emotional depth, your ability to be fully present. These qualities made them feel something unique. And once someone has experienced that kind of connection, anything less will always feel incomplete. Seneca once said, "A great soul is one who is complete in itself." That was your power. You didn't need their validation to feel whole. You carried yourself with confidence, emotional independence, and a quiet strength that stood out in a world full of superficial interactions. Think of your presence like a beautifully composed melody, one that lingers long after the music has stopped. They don't consciously replay it, but it's there, woven into their thoughts. Every new person they meet is compared to that song, and no matter how good the new melody is, it never quite feels the same. You were the lighthouse in their storm, the unwavering presence they could count on, the rare kind of connection that doesn't just fade with time. And now, without you, they find themselves searching, not necessarily for you, but for the feeling you created. The irony? They might not have even realized how much they valued you until they tried to replace what you brought into their life. But the deeper they look, the clearer it becomes. Some things can't be replaced. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." And that's exactly what you did. You didn't chase. You didn't beg to be valued. You simply were, fully, unapologetically, undeniably you. And that's why they'll always feel it. Because at the end of the day, they don't just miss you. They miss the standard you set, the one no one else seems to match. And whether they want to or not, that's a benchmark they'll carry with them, long after you've moved on. 5. The reflection in a stranger's smile. Life has a way of placing reminders in the most unexpected places. Sometimes it's a song playing in a store, a scent in the air, or a phrase spoken by a stranger that sends a sharp wave of nostalgia rushing in. But few things hit harder than seeing joy reflected in the faces of others. Joy they once knew, but let slip away. It happens in the most ordinary moments. Maybe they're sitting alone in a cafe, mindlessly stirring their coffee, when laughter erupts from a nearby table. A couple leans in, sharing an inside joke, their ease with each other effortless, natural. And for a second, it pulls them back to the nights when conversations with you felt weightless, when laughter wasn't something they had to chase, but something that flowed without effort. Or maybe they pass by a couple walking hand in hand through the park, their quiet closeness speaking volumes without a single word exchanged. And suddenly, they remember what it felt like to have someone walk beside them, not just in steps, but in life. The feeling of knowing, really knowing, that someone saw them, understood them, chose them. These moments aren't just passing observations, they are echoes, fragments of a reality they didn't fully appreciate until it was gone. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have so little time, but that we lose so much of it." And now, as they watch others enjoy the very thing they once had, they are forced to confront a truth they've been avoiding. They lost something rare. The mind is clever. It tries to downplay what's gone, convincing itself that moving forward means forgetting. But the heart doesn't obey logic. The heart remembers the warmth of your presence, the way your laughter made even the dullest moments feel alive, the way you could sense their emotions without them having to explain. And when they see glimpses of those things in other people's relationships, it stirs something deep. Not jealousy, not regret, recognition. They might not have realized what they had when they had it. But now, as they witness those small moments between others, the kind of moments they used to share with you, they begin to understand what they let go. It's at this point they might ask themselves, why does this hurt? Why do I care? Because not all connections are the same. Some are surface level, easily replaced. Others are woven into the fabric of the soul, leaving an imprint that time struggles to erase. If your presence was built on authenticity, if you truly listened, if you showed up with presence, if you made them feel seen in a way no one else did, then it's only natural that they compare. It's not about putting others down. It's about realizing that some things aren't so easily found again. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that's where your focus should be, not on what they feel, but on who you are becoming. Because while they are busy seeing you reflected in strangers, you are moving forward, not out of spite, not to prove a point, but because that's what self-worth looks like, continuing to grow, continuing to thrive, regardless of who notices. And that's what leaves the deepest impact. Picture them catching a glimpse of you, maybe through social media, maybe through mutual friends, or maybe just in their thoughts on a quiet night. They expected you to be lingering in the past, trapped in what was. Instead, they see something different. Strength, composure, a quiet confidence that speaks louder than any words ever could. It's not about chasing. It's not about making them regret. It's about living in a way that makes it undeniable. You were never someone to be replaced. And so, when they watch those happy couples around them, it's not just the smiles and laughter that stir their heart. It's the absence of the way you made them feel, the warmth, the connection, the effortless understanding. No one else quite carries the same energy. No one else quite makes the world feel as vibrant. And as they sit with that realization, another thought follows. The kind of thought that lingers long after the moment has passed. Why did I ever let that go? 6. The anchor. They didn't know they needed until it was gone. Life is unpredictable. Storms come without warning, and when they do, people instinctively seek something steady, something that won't waver when everything else feels uncertain. And for them, in moments of chaos, your absence isn't just noticed, it's felt. Because when the weight of the world presses down, when everything feels out of control, they remember how you used to be there, not always with solutions, but with presence. Maybe it was the way you listened, not rushing to fix things, but simply offering space for them to breathe. Maybe it was your calm energy, the way you carried yourself with quiet certainty, making even the heaviest moments feel just a little lighter. Or maybe it was your ability to offer perspective, to turn tangled thoughts into something clear, something manageable. And now, without that presence, the silence is deafening. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." And that's exactly what you were. You didn't just offer comfort, you embodied it. Your patience, your ability to stay steady when everything else felt uncertain. Those weren't just traits. They were lifelines. Think back to the moments when you made them laugh, even when their world was falling apart. The way you could sense their frustration before they even spoke a word. The way you offered stability, not through grand gestures, but through the simple act of being there. Those moments weren't just fleeting kindnesses. They became the foundation of something deeper, something that now feels irreplaceable. Because life doesn't stop throwing challenges, and as they face them now, the absence of that emotional refuge becomes undeniable. They're left to navigate the storm alone, and while they might have once taken your steadiness for granted, now they feel its absence in every difficult moment. Seneca once said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay," and perhaps that's one of the things they miss most. The way you never reacted impulsively, never let emotions dictate your actions. Where others brought conflict, you brought clarity. Where others panicked, you remained unshaken. That kind of presence isn't just noticed, it's remembered. It's easy to overlook stability when it's always there. People don't often realize the value of an anchor until they feel themselves drifting. But now, as they face hardship without the one person who made them feel safe, they begin to understand exactly what they lost. This isn't about making them dependent on you. It's not about proving a point. It's about recognizing that true emotional steadiness is rare. It's not something that can be easily replaced. Picture them sitting in the aftermath of a difficult day, searching for something to hold on to. They might not say it out loud, but deep down, they know. The way you made them feel safe, the way you made everything seem less overwhelming, that is what's missing. And the realization, it doesn't just pass, it lingers. Because your presence wasn't just there, it was felt. It left a mark in ways they didn't even notice at the time. Now, as they stand in the storm, they feel the full weight of what they lost. The kind of calm you carried, the strength you exuded. It wasn't just something nice to have. It was something that mattered, something that now feels impossible to replace. And the irony, they only truly understand it now when they no longer have it, when they no longer have you. 7. The empty space in a room. Full of people crowds don't always cure loneliness. Sometimes they amplify it. Being surrounded by laughter, conversation, and movement should feel energizing, yet for them, something feels off. The contrast between what was and what is now stands in stark relief. The noise around them only highlights the absence of the one presence that once made these moments whole. They find themselves at a gathering, caught between forced smiles and half-hearted conversations. But something is missing. They glance around, scanning faces, feeling a strange detachment. The warmth that once made these moments special isn't there. Maybe it's a joke that lands flat because no one delivers it like you did. Maybe it's a glance across the room where they expect to find you, only to remember you're not there. It's an odd kind of realization creeping in between the noise. They may not have expected to feel it, but there it is. A quiet, persistent reminder of the energy, the ease, the you that once made even the dullest gatherings feel alive. Seneca once wrote, "Things that were hard to bear are sweet to remember." And that's what's happening now. The moments they barely noticed before, the ones they assumed were just part of the background, suddenly feel significant. Because your presence wasn't just about being there, it was about how you were there. Maybe you had a way of bringing life into the room, drawing people in without trying. Maybe you could turn mundane conversations into something worth remembering. Or maybe it was quieter than that. Maybe you were the grounding force, the one who made them feel secure in a room full of strangers. Now, as they navigate these spaces without you, the difference is undeniable. The conversations feel more surface level. The laughter feels forced. And the security they once felt beside you? Now they feel exposed, as if something vital is missing. They might ask themselves, why does this feel different? And the answer isn't just about nostalgia, it's about connection. The kind of connection that doesn't just fill time, but adds to it, makes it richer, deeper, more meaningful. Marcus Aurelius once observed, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, and whether they admit it or not, their thoughts are still dyed with the color of you." Picture them scrolling through their phone later that night, seeing a photo of you at a different event. A candid moment, laughing, engaged, present, and for a second, they pause, not out of jealousy, not out of resentment, but because something stirs deep within them. Not all absences feel the same. Some people leave and life goes on unchanged, but others, those who truly brought meaning, leave behind an imprint that lingers. You weren't just another face in the crowd. You were the one who made them feel seen, understood, valued. And now, surrounded by people, they still feel the silence of your absence. The Stoics remind us that true presence isn't just about being physically there. It's about how we show up, the energy we bring, the way we impact those around us. That's why your absence feels so pronounced. It wasn't just about sharing space. It was about the depth of what you brought into their life. They might not have realized it then, but they do now. Because it's not the crowd they'll remember. It's not the drinks, the music, or the small talk. It's you. The way you made even the simplest moments feel like they mattered. The way you turned ordinary nights into something worth remembering. And once that realization dawns, it's impossible to forget. 8. The success they can see but can't touch. There comes a moment when they hear about your success, when word reaches them that you've moved forward, grown, achieved something they once heard you dream about. It's not just a passing thought. It's not just a flicker of envy. It's something deeper, something more unsettling, because success isn't just about accomplishments. It's a mirror, a reflection of the path you chose, the discipline you built, the resilience you carried. And now, it's a reflection they can only observe from a distance. Maybe it happens casually, through a mutual friend who mentions your name, a post they come across while scrolling, or an unexpected moment when someone asks, "Did you hear what they've been up to?" And in that instant, they're pulled back into the past, into those late-night talks where you spoke of your ambitions, where your dreams felt like shared aspirations. They remember when your victories were theirs too, when they were standing beside you, celebrating every step forward. But now, the celebration is happening without them, and for the first time they realize they are no longer a part of your progress. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That's exactly what you did. You didn't get lost in what was. You didn't stall, waiting for someone to recognize your worth. You became the version of yourself that you always envisioned. And that's what lingers most. It's not just what you've achieved, but who you've become in the process. Imagine them seeing a photo. Maybe it's you standing at an award ceremony, signing the contract for your dream job, or simply glowing with a happiness they haven't seen in you before. It's not about arrogance. It's not about proving anything. It's just you, living, evolving, thriving. And that's when the questions start to surface. What if I had stayed? Did I underestimate what they were capable of? Did I walk away from something rare? These thoughts don't come because you forced them. They come because success forces reflection. Because seeing someone flourish without you is one of the sharpest realizations of what could have been. Seneca once said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." And that's exactly what your success is. Earned. Not luck, not chance, but the result of relentless effort, discipline, and self-belief. And that's what separates you. Because while some people need external validation to feel accomplished, you found fulfillment in the journey itself. You didn't grow to prove them wrong, you grew to prove yourself right. And in doing so, you created something undeniable. Your achievements are more than just milestones. They are a quiet, yet powerful message. You didn't stop. And that realization lingers. Because while they might try to move on, every time they hear of your success, every time they see your name attached to something great, it reminds them they once had a front row seat to this story. Now, they are just spectators. It's not about making them regret. It's not about making them miss you. It's about living so fully, so unapologetically, that your success becomes a reminder, not just of what you've built, but of what they lost when they let you go. Because at the end of it all, success isn't just measured by accomplishments. It's measured by who you become. And now, as they watch from a distance, they're left with a truth they can't escape. They didn't just lose a person, they lost someone extraordinary.